Okay, today I'm working on a 2015 Dodge Ram 3500 6.7 liter Cummins diesel as the engine, and behind that is the 68 RFE, a 6-speed 4-wheel drive transmission that we're going to be overhauling. So we're going to open it up, see what we find. I had a bunch of codes, had some engine codes, but as far as transmission codes go, problem with this is it has a problem in 5th and 6th gear, so we do have gear ratio errors in 5th and 6th. We have an overdrive pressure switch rationality code, trans temp high. Basically what's going on with this is I drove it before it got pulled out. I cleared all the codes out because the customer said, he even has a handheld scanner in the car, once this thing catches the problem, the computer catches the problem, it inhibits 5th and 6th gear. But he says it allows him to shift 1 through 4. That never happened to me because I just went down a block and back because I wanted to see what the problem was before the transmission got pulled out. So what I'm feeling, first of all, when it goes into 4th gear, it has 4th gear, but it has a clutch squawk. It has a noise as the clutches are applied. And then as it goes into 5th, it has even a louder clutch squawk, and even feels like it's binding up in 5th gear, and then it releases and then goes into 6th gear, but there's a definite problem. So the one thing that I did do with these Chryslers, with the 604s, the 606s, the 45 RFEs, the 545 RFEs, is you look at the CVI values. That shows you internal wear. So for instance, the 4C clutch, which I believe comes on in 5th gear, the range is 30 to 64, and I'm getting 18. Which is a little tight, which could be maybe the bind-up sensation that I'm feeling. I'm not really sure what we're going to find with this thing, but there is a definite problem. So we have to open this up and see what we find. And then I got a master overhaul kit for this, and we're going to go over the clutches on this. One thing I do want to show you, these clutches here, of course, look exactly the same. The color is different, but you know, if you put them together, they're exactly the same. But the difference is, if you're not paying attention, one clutch is 50 thousandths and one is 58 thousandths. And that's how it is with this transmission, also the 545 RFE, except these are one-sided. So you can't really screw it up, or your clearance is going to be screwed up. So I'm hoping once this thing comes apart, we can mic these frictions out and put them back how they should be. But I'm hoping that's the input drum, which houses the reverse clutch on top, and the middle is the overdrive, and on the bottom is the underdrive. All right, so I'm going to get a little closer, and we're going to open this up. So pretty much what we got on the outside here, you have your input speed sensor, your solenoid pack, which is a gray connector, and your output speed sensor, and over here is your line pressure sensor. These have a high failure rate, and that's going to be changed as well. Okay, so I got the pan bolts out because I wanted to drain the unit. I got the bolts out of the extension housing except for 2. So we're going to take that off first, probably flip it, take the pan, valve body. I'm going to take a snap ring out of here, take the cover off, and then pull the pump and drums out. And should be a fairly quick teardown. All right, so let me get a little closer and we'll get started. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is take these sensors out. Probably get my other one here. Bit of an emergency job. I'm going to get this thing done within a couple of days. So the thing landed on my bench a couple hours ago, so I figured might as well just start now. You know, chunk it down tonight, and maybe we'll continue tomorrow. All right, so here is the input speed sensor, flat. And I'm going to get the output speed sensor. These all have, this unit all has molded pistons. All right, being a little stubborn. Okay, also output speed sensor. All right, now let's get the transducer out. This will pull right out. Okay, I'd like to replace that. New, OE only. Not even sure if it's made on the aftermarket, but I don't really even bother to research that. All right, let's get the extension housing. Here, transfer case bolts on here, and you got a rear seal here. We changed. All right, so next there's a snap ring here to take the park gear off. This thing is in park, so I can't turn it. Okay. This, and I'm going to put the snap ring on top so I know which side it goes on. Put that aside. All right, here's the low drum. So next, we want to get this snap ring out, this big snap ring. And then we're going to flip it. And there we go. Probably going to wind up, I like to replace these covers. Actually, it says 68 RFE on it. But this cover, this is the front seal. You get this rubbers and stuff in the kit, but to replace the whole thing new. Sometimes they do get bent up trying to get these things out. Okay. And here's this converter's a monster. Here's this converter. Let me just get this thing out of the way. They're gonna be here to pick that up tomorrow. Let's get the pan down. I probably had this thing serviced. It looks like the pan was down, so the pan's fairly clean. I think he tried to service it to see if it would help any, and of course it did not. All right, next we got to take this 25 out here. Get the main filter out. All right, this little bolt here. Let's take this out. Let me put this back in. All right, next is the valve body. About 6 bolts, so holding that in. Solenoid packs are coming up with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so this whole thing is going to come out as one. You got your seals, low reverse, and the other 2 drums. I think it's the fourth clutch. But we'll see what this stuff looks like when we get this apart. All right, this here is what hooks up to the linkage to select the gear. So if you ever have to change one of these solenoid packs, you just kind of want to make sure that this plate stays exactly where it is and don't move it, because then you'll good chance you'll miss the manual valve. All right, so this go here, there. All right, we got the cooler return filter. Let's see if I can get this cover off. Okay, here's the cover. That came off fairly simple, but again, I'm probably going to wind up just changing it. We'll get that filter off in a minute. I like to get this thing apart. Pump next. Good. Big input drum we can look at. I'm going to open this here. Okay. Bearing goes there. All right, so next thing, we got to get this snap ring out. Now this snap ring, you got to make sure the opening, when you put it back together, the opening faces the valve body. If it doesn't face the valve body actually is not going to sit right. You know, you'll have to kind of draw it down with the bolts and push it down. It'll be pushing on the snap ring, and it's not going to really seal the two ports here, and you can burn this thing out very quickly. Another screwdriver here. We can get this thing up. So this has a bevel on one side, flat on the other side, so the bevel is going to face up. Okay. All right, let's try to get this out here. We can kind of just pull this out without disturbing anything else. So these, a little burnt, not too bad. These, I believe, are the 4C. And of course, once this thing is done, this has to be quick learned. Okay. Get this hub out here. And a washer on each side. A bearing, I should say. Okay, this is the stop for the piston. Alright, these here are burnt. I got steels and everything for this. And this should be the pressure plate. Yep. Okay. Here's the gear train, which is probably just gonna, I'll take this apart and check it out, but it's probably okay. I'm just dealing with a rust problem. Oh, it looks good. Just the snap ring in here. Then this thing will come apart. Anyway, I get another snap ring out and pull the low drum out. And the unit is stripped. Okay. Let's see if we can get this thing moving. Gonna get it started. Okay, that. And the low drum. Got a sprig in there also. Okay. All right, the case is stripped. All right, what I want to do is get rid of some of this oil. Let me just go get my big pliers. We'll take that cooler return filter off. Give me 1 second. Okay, all right, so this here, I'm gonna, of course, get another one, cooler return. Ready? There's that. All right, now I gotta get rid of some of this oil. I'm gonna move this case. I want to move this case away. I got a C6 on that bench that I tore down, but I gotta make some room for this somewhere. All right, just give me a few minutes, and I will be back. All right, so let's open up this big input drum and see what we got in here. All right, so first we're gonna open. We'll take the snap ring out, pull a reverse clutch out. Here's that bearing, and it has plastic on the outside. So let's take this snap ring out. All right, so we got the reverse clutch, overdrive, and underdrive. And so this we're gonna move up here. This will come out. Okay, these clutches here, you know, they're starting to flake off. Okay, next we're going to do the overdrive. We got a bearing here, and there's another bearing here, bearing here. All right, so this is going to go like this. All right, so this one, get this out. Things are wasted. These things come on in fourth and they stay on, so this is more than likely probably why this thing was possibly locking up. And the weird thing is the CBI was within range, but these things are fried, one-sided. Look at that, nothing left of them. Wow. Alright. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. All right. Let's see, we got here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the thinner ones, looks like they may go in the overdrive. All right, here's kind of like a spacer that the snap ring sits in between. And now we got another snap ring to get out. Just find, all right, so we're gonna take the hub off. And yes, another bearing right in here. All right, you might have to get a small screwdriver to get in there to start it. Bearing on the other side. Alright, so it's not cooperating. So let's see if I can. Pretty thick snap ring. I'm trying to move the tab with the scribe and get behind it. Okay. I'm gonna have to get this probably thing out from here, but I don't want to break this scribe. Let me just let me see if I can find something. Don't want to waste keep the camera on. I can't get this thing out here. When is it coming? Go. Okay. And we have the pressure plate for the underdrive and overdrive. And you guessed it, another snap ring. All right, let's take that out. Let's find the opening. This is a thinner one. It shouldn't really be a problem. Got it. And the underdrive. Okay. That looks okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5 of those. All right, so I know what's what. Because you know, when you buy these, when you get these banner kits, they're just, the clutches are just all kind of piled up on top of each other. So you really got to be careful. You know, even, let's see. Again, you know, these, if you're not paying attention, you know, they look exactly the same, but what I did was I knew there was going to be a difference, so I mic'd them, and I separated everything. So I know what is the overdrive. This is the reverse. That's pretty simple. I know what's the overdrive, and I know what is the underdrive. This we got to take apart, clean up real good. Let me just check these other clutches. We'll probably take that apart. Okay, lower reverse. All right, a little worn, not bad. But again, I got a master rebuild kit, so everything is getting changed. All right, and then you have, I push this down, you got a split ring in here. Take that off, you got a molded piston. This is the low reverse molded piston here. Okay, so now the pump, we're going to take a look at that. Got a lot of 25 torques, and we're going to take the stator out as well. You know, let me just to make it simple, I'm going to take most of these bolts out and just leave a few in, just to, so it doesn't take so long. And I'll leave a few bolts in here, so we're going to take the stator out, we're going to take the pump apart. All right, so I will be back in a few minutes. Okay, all right, so the stator bolts actually are T30s. And those are all the same length. There's 5 of them. All right, and this should come out. Okay, you got some rings. Come in the new kit, so you change the rings. All right, and now I'm going to take 2 of the bolts out to split the halves apart on a pump. They are all the same length, and they are torque 25. Okay, so this thing should come apart. All right, so you got some valves in here, your lock-up valves, accumulator valves. Back in the day, these used to break. The springs used to break. It would stall on engagement and stuff like that. But I think only valve in the valve, I believe, is the solenoid switch valve. So you probably got a pressure regulator, you got a pressure regulator here, and lock-up valves. All right, and you have your plate. Now, on earlier models, there used to be a couple of bolts. Okay, this obviously does not use that. But if you do like a 545 RFE, you got a couple of small bolts that hold this plate down, and you got to make sure you put those bolts back, because if you don't, the car may not move. All right, and you have a little shuttle valve right here. It looks like kind of like a teardrop. Got to make sure that goes back in. This is kind of like a 2-stage pump, has primary and secondary, and when it gets up to a certain speed, it shuts off the secondary, and you only get fluid from the primary. Now right here is the main gear. And then you have the 2, which should come right out. But they are not. We're going to leave them in here for now. That is the pump. All right. So now we got to get the shaft out. Little wire thin snap ring holding that in. All right, so let's find the opening. And then you need a real kind of sharp scribe. So I want to take the end up, pick it up with the other scribe. All right, here's that. And then this will come out. This actually has another snap ring with a valve in there. Kind of like, I guess it's kind of like that bypass valve in like the 604s. Thing if you can hear it. There we go. Okay, so that's free. You can pull it out if you want. If it's free, you can leave it in. This one is free. And there's a little tiny snap ring with eyelets in there. And then once you get that out, you know, you can probably put your finger over it like I just did, blow this and it may blow it out. If by chance you have to change it. All right, so what I want to do now is go over to the foot press. I'm going to take the snap ring from here and we'll take this drum apart, the whole setup apart. And then we'll take a look at the valve body as well. All right, so just give me a few minutes and I will be right back. Okay, so I got the snap ring out. That's here. All right, then we take off the balance piston. Got a set of springs. Then we have the underdrive piston molded. Okay. Now we got to take another snap ring out. Let's get it. This. Open this sucker up. Get the snap ring out. Okay, you got to look at how this comes out because again, this has a little bevel in here, and if you put it in wrong, there's a good chance as soon as the clutch applies, boom, it's going to pop right out. All right, so now we have the input clutch retainer. All right, so you know what these, probably got to just bang these out. Input clutch retainer and the overdrive reverse housing. There we go. Little orifice screen here. All right, there's one of these has an orifice screen in it, and usually you hold it up to a light to make sure that it's clear because I believe it acts as a bleed. I'm going to double check that. Just need a rag here, wipe my hands. And this, of course, input clutch hub, input speed sensor, reads this. Okay, all right, just give me 2 minutes. Want to clear some of this oil out again? I'll be right back. Okay, all right, so I blew some air in here just to make sure that I'm giving you the right information, and that this is like an orifice screen. If you hold it up to the light, you see a little pinhole in here, so you want to make sure that that is clear. And in here, I don't know why I said bypass valve. It's actually a drain back ball and spring inside here, but it was free because you heard that noise, so that usually means that's the ball going against the spring. So I'm sorry about that. I gave you I don't know why I did. I knew it was a drain back, but I don't know why I said that. Okay, valve body, solenoid pack gray connector. You got your intermediate clutch seal, your fourth clutch seal, these two, and low reverse. All right, and here you have all accumulators, which I'm going to be taking apart and changing all the seals. And then I think also housed in here is the solenoid switch valve. But I'll probably take this thing apart. You know, it's like a 545 RFE, it's really the same thing. And that is the valve body. Pull this off, change all these O-rings. A lot of bolts holding this thing together, and solenoid pack. Okay, so again, with this, got the split ring. I use something like this to go over it. Well, it's got to be a little bigger. But I guess you guys get the idea. Probably use this one. This is a steel. Put on the foot press, press it down, get a magnet, pull the two out, and I'll be able to change that piston. I just want to give you a little update on how I'm doing with this 68 RFE. It's not that easy getting parts for this thing when you need them. So these items here I had to get from the dealer, even used. Nobody has them. But the first item I had to order was these set of springs. These go in between the underdrive pistons. Let me just show you here. All right, so this is the underdrive piston, and the spring sits here, and then the balance piston goes on top. So it's in between the two molded pistons, and each side has a hook to hold these springs together. If you can see this right here, and there is no hook. It is broken on this side, so that's what this side looks like. That's what this side looks like. So I got that coming from the dealer, and this input clutch housing once it was cleaned up, I checked it and got a lot of ring grooves in here. Right, there's 5 rings that ride in here, and this is real bad. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's bad in here. Ring grooves, forget it. Transtar does sell a new aftermarket style one, but it did not work. I got it here, and it's not machined correctly where the O-rings ride, because this is the piston that sits on top, and I couldn't even get the piston on. I took the O-rings off, the thing slid right down. And then when I compared the two, you could just see it was just way off, and there was no way that that was getting together. So I got these two coming from the dealer. They are available, you know, it would be tomorrow, which is good because I have to get this thing done in the next like day or so. And I have the valve body open. I did all new seals in here, and I wanted to give you a shot of the check balls. All right, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got this cavity is empty, and this cavity is empty. No check ball goes there, and here is your solenoid switch valve. You want to make sure this thing is nice and free. So that is valve body, check ball locations. All right, here's the rest of it. You're all nice and clean, ready to go together. I'm going to be doing that early tomorrow morning. And the pump, I ended up getting the gears out. The gears actually did come right out. Just the oil and stuff that was in there were holding these things together, and I just could not get them out. Once I cleaned it in the solvent, I grabbed the gear again and it slid right out. But I knew they came out, but just wasn't 100% sure if this part came out with it. And of course, it does not. On the 545 RFEs, it's all one piece, and that will come out. But these stayed in here. All right, just one quick reminder: when you're putting these units back together, the big snap ring for the intermediate and fourth clutch housing, which I have in, and remember the opening has to go here, because when you put the valve body on with the 2 seals, if the snap ring opening is not here and the snap ring is coming across, and it'll fit that way, even if you tighten the valve body down, it's not really going to seal properly here, and you have the chance of burning the transmission out. So just make sure the opening goes here, so when you put the valve body on, the seals can seal these ports here that apply the intermediate and fourth clutch, and you'll be good to go. All right, so I just wanted to remind you of that. And once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you next one.